Damn, son, where'd you find this?
It's no eternal mystery, don't need a hard-earned clue. Why some men do their damnedest when half a damn would do. There's a lifetime in the distance and it's filled with love and gold, and I'll find it yet if I may be so bold. Yeah, some men do the conqueror and some men do the wheel, and some will do most anything to hide the way they feel. And some like giving orders and some like to be told, but I'll make my way if I may be so bold. Bold enough to make a difference, bold enough to say I care, bold enough to keep on trying even when the will's not there. There's a whole world out there waiting, full of stories to be told, and I heed the call and I tell them all if I may be so bold. Boys are emptying their glasses as the true believers will, with what I guess these days passes for a good time or thrill. And they're trying hard to convince you, but I don't believe your soul. So I step right up if I may be so bold. Bold enough to make a difference, bold enough to say I care, bold enough to keep on trying even when the game's not fair. There's a whole world out there waiting, full of dreams that can't be sold, and I heed the call and live them all if I may be so bold. I stumbled around these country towns and swallowed up the sea. I wrestled with the question of just who I aim to be. Been dealt hands I had to laugh at, some hands I've loved before, but I'll play them all if I may be so bold. Bold enough to not surrender, bold enough to give a damn, bold enough to keep on moving or to stay right where I am. There's a whole world out there waiting, full of stories to be told, and I heed the call and tell them all if I may be so bold. Yeah, I tell them all if I may be so bold. I asked you where you'd been and you said none yet. None of your business, don't you ask no more. You said if you would do a better job of listening, then maybe you would understand. But while I'm at the door, you just had to paint the front porch ceiling turquoise. You said that's the way we do it in the South. You claimed it keeps out all the evil spirits, but sometimes I can't believe the words coming out your mouth. But I try because I want to. I know your heart the best way that I can. Through the laughter and the pain and the sometimes just insane, girl, all I wanna do is be your man. Sometimes we'll pretend like we're strangers out there meeting up for the first time. I'll be a doctor or a secret agent, just hoping that she'd laugh with me as I I used to tell myself that I had it covered, that everything was where it needs to be. But then you showed up and you looked me over, and I see, oh, I see, now I see, darling, I see. And so I try, because I need you. I know your heart the best way that I can. For the laughter, for the pain, for the way you call my name. Girl, all I wanna do is be your man. I asked you where you'd been and you said none yet. None your business, don't you ask no more.
All right, here's Carll in the Roadhouse, the song Nunya from the new album, brand new record called What It Is on Dual Tone Records. And before that was If I May Be So Bold. Hayes Carll, welcome to the show.
Thank you, it's great to be here.
Good to have you here. You're in Seattle for 2 sold-out nights at the Tractor.
Yes.
Yeah, and today you had one of those kind of rare half days off.
Yeah.
What did you do?
Well, I got 8 hours sleep for the first time in a minute, and that was nice. And then went and did a little bit of, we're doing some photo shoots and some tapings of other stuff. So it wasn't really a half day off.
I see.
But
Yeah.
I was at least getting to stay in one place, which was nice.
Being on tour is tough. It's a lot of work, getting to and fro and doing stuff like that.
Yeah, well, you know, the old saying, the play for free and the get paid for the travel and all that stuff. And it's true. It's the playing music's the easy part and the fun part, and why you get into this. The traveling and the being away from home is not quite as much fun.
Yeah.
But it's great to be here in Seattle for 2 days.
That last song, Nunya, None Your Business, is inspired and written for your partner, Allison Moore.
Yeah, and partially co-written with her. She co-wrote
sings
a lot
on
of
it,
songs.
too,
And she sings on it and co-produced the record, so she's all over the place on this one.
Yeah. And she wanted to paint the front porch ceiling turquoise?
She did actually paint it turquoise, or hate blue, hot blue. I don't know how you pronounce it exactly. I think I had a lot of fans come out and correct me that it's not actually turquoise is not the specific color. But
kind of like the color of these lights, maybe.
Yeah.
And what was her reasoning behind the paint color?
Well, her reasoning was when she grew up, she heard that it keeps out evil spirits. You paint the front porch ceiling and the back porch ceiling, and it gives them a pathway to get through in and out of the house. If you don't paint the back porch, then they can't get out of the house. But a lot of people, I mean, these sort of myths or traditions are based in some sort of practicality generally, and in this one, I've heard that mosquitoes and mud daubers and different things, it keeps them away because I think it makes them feel like it's the sky, and so they're not building like daubers are not building nests up there and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
And she's a Southern girl, and that title Nunya is a Southern thing. Right?
She's extremely Southern, yeah. She's from South Alabama, and so she's got her own. She's one of the most articulate and erudite people I know, but she has her own language sometimes that comes from her childhood and from growing up in the South. So, none ya, tend ya, mind ya is something she says. None of your business, tend your business, mind your business. And so I heard that in passing one time, and I thought that was pretty fertile ground for a song.
And you're a Texan, and I think more specifically, you're a Gulf Coast guy. Is that right? Or where did you grow up? Near Houston?
Yeah, I grew up just north of Houston, and I went and lived in Arkansas for a while. I went to school in Arkansas, and then came back down to Texas, and I moved out to the beach, little beach town called Crystal Beach, Texas, and it's on a peninsula just outside of Galveston Island, and that's where I started playing music for the first time, and they had a lot of bars out there, and I just had this dream of being a songwriter, and moved to a place where I was the only guy who could play guitar and sing at the same time, which gave me a good
heads up on or a good place to start. And so I just got a tip jar and went and asked the bars if I could set up in the corner and start playing, and that's where it all began.
Yeah, and now 20 years later, here you are.
Here we are.
Yeah. Well, it's been a great career. I'm a big fan, and it's great to have you on the show. The first song was If I May Be So Bold, and that seems to be the song of the album in my mind, and it really sort of comes from a place that I want to ask you about. You wrote a piece for No Depression magazine recently that's called If I May Be So Bold, and I think if I got it right, it's pretty much about sort of a new agreement or a new deal with your fan base.
Well, yeah, with my fan base and with myself. I realized at a certain point that I was not making myself as clear as I felt like I needed to be about certain things, and it doesn't mean I aim to be a political songwriter. I need to push my opinions on other people. One of my favorite quotes is from Todd Snyder. He says, I don't write these songs to change anybody's mind. I write them to ease my own. And on this record, I was doing a lot more of that, a lot more of trying to write songs for myself. And this one was a call to arms to not sit on the sidelines for the second half of my life. You know, I look back and I realize that, I let fear of people's opinions or of my own inadequacies or fear of failure kind of keep me from living at my fullest. And I regret that, and I didn't want to make that same mistake for the next, hopefully, however many years I got left. And so this is something that I wrote to remind myself of that every night. And so, it applies to all parts of life, what I do creatively, what I do personally, what I do publicly. And I didn't want to live in fear of people's reactions. For me, as an artist and as a person, this isn't to speak out about what I felt was important to me.
Yeah. In my reading of it, it had a lot to do with persona as well, in terms of what does an artist want to put out there and not put out there in terms of their personal or private life versus their stage life. I mean, how much do you want to protect yourself from people by putting it all out there or not putting it out there?
Yeah, and that's always been tricky for me. Figuring out where that line was between what I was creating and what I put, how much of it was reflective of my life and how much of it was just creativity and imagination and had nothing to do with me. And depending on where I was in my life and my career, I've been on either side of that line. Stuff has been, there's been stuff that was deeply personal and autobiographical. And then there's been stuff that was, just my imagination at work. And, trying to think about what I put out for people or what people's perception of it is tricky for me. It's I'm not sure I have the bandwidth to figure out anything other than just this is where I'm at and this is what I'm creating and put it out there in the world. And like we talked about earlier, that's the easy part. The hard part sometimes is explaining it or trying to figure out how what it is you want people to perceive you as and how you want them to take you. I don't like thinking about that. It's weird because I think I can get too much into that. And
yeah.
It's much easier for me to just say, here's what it is, have fun with it. If it means something to you, roll with it. Here's what it means to me.
Yeah, and that's the name of the album, What It Is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you a fan of Randy Newman? Because he also writes in the third person a lot and creates characters and whatnot.
I am, yeah. He was a big influence for sure.
Yeah. Songs like She Left Me for Jesus or Another Like You are sort of like those kind of songs.
Yeah. And sometimes it's great to personify something else, somebody else, and or use another character. I like getting into people's heads and seeing, the other side of things. And sometimes that's the way I like to write. And sometimes, like I said, it comes from a really deeply personal place. And for me, what's been interesting when I check in on whether I'm evolving as an artist or as a human, my last 2 records and this one I particularly feel like there are parts that really line up with my life in a way that they never totally had before. Like I'm starting to be able to step out front and say, this is me, and this is what that is. And not all art has to be that, and not everything I do has to be that. But at the moment, I'm really liking approaching it that way, saying, here's my relationship. This is interesting to me, and this is meaningful to me. I'm going to write about it and sing about it. And here's what's going on in my life with my attitudes of here's my fears and here's my concerns and here's how I'm addressing them. And I feel like if I can do that in an interesting, creative way, that's helpful for me and fun for me. It feels meaningful, and then hopefully that resonates with some people, other people just listening. Right on. I'm all in. All right. How about this next song? Can you introduce this next one? It's called Times Like These. Yeah, this is a song I wrote just kind of out of frustration. It's partly it's one of those that it's something I feel pretty strongly, but I was also writing from an outsider's perspective, and it's about just frustration and disillusion with the current state of the country in some ways, and I feel like these are divisive times, and some of our political leaders are the ones stirring up the divisiveness and pitting us against each other, and that's really frustrating to me, because I think the people that we elect to run our country should be more interested in uniting us and finding the commonality and the common ground that we have to speak to our better angels and bring out the best of us. And right now I feel like there's a lot of people that are more focused on bringing out the worst in us to sort of solidify their position. And so this is just somebody being pissed off about that. This is Hayes Carll.
Everyone could use a hand. Instead we stand around losing ground, fighting over the promised land. And it's so hard to tell if this is heaven or hell, and I can never measure by degrees. But it's sure getting warm around here in times like these. In times like these, do I really need a billionaire? Just taking up my time trying to tell me how I treat him unfair. But then I have to pay as the home of the brave gets divided into them and the we. Oh, I find I'm losing my mind at times like these. Yeah, they come and they go, they're here and they're not. Every day I'm getting better at losing something I haven't got. I just wanna do my labor, love my girl and help my neighbor while I keep a little hope for my dreams. But it's sure getting hard, brother, in times like these. I wish I had a place to hide. Instead of bringing it together, we're just widening the great divide. I hope and I pray at the end of the day that I can somehow get my troubles to ease. But I gotta say it's not looking good now in times like these. Yeah, they come and they go, they're cold and they're hot. I'm just trying to keep the world from turning me to something I'm not. I'm gonna try to run till the whole thing's done, and I just hope I don't end up on my knees. But sure getting hard to stand up in times like these. I just wanna do my labor, love my girl, help my neighbor while I'm keeping on my joie de vivre. But it's sure getting hard, brother, in times like these. I could use just a little bit of help in times like these.
Times like these. Hayes Carll from the brand new record called What It Is on Dual Tone. Hayes, great to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Sure is nice having Corey on piano.
Yeah. We borrowed Corey Younce over here from Old Crow Medicine Show.
Yeah.
And
do you follow Corey on Instagram? He's pretty hilarious.
I didn't until I just heard you talking about his Instagram and realized that he had one.
I don't anymore.
Oh, yeah, because it was too controversial. It was just crazy.
I got a little nuts.
Yeah. Do you want to introduce the band, Hayes?
Absolutely. Well, there's Corey Younce, now retired from Instagram, from Nashville, Tennessee, playing the piano, and we'll get him on the harmonica and the mandolin. And let's see, over here on the electric guitar and the dobro from Chickasha, Oklahoma, this is Travis Linville. On the bass guitar from Austin, Texas, this is Gina Spigarelli. And on the drums, also from Austin, Texas, Mr. Mike Meadows.
Great, awesome. So, Hayes, they're calling this your best album. Congrats.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, how do you feel about it? I mean, did it feel good when you were recording it? Did it feel right?
It felt great when I was recording it. It was an interesting situation in that I went. I did it in Nashville with. It was co-produced by Brad Jones and Allison. And Brad I had worked with on two of my previous records, Trouble in Mind and K-Mag Yo-Yo. So I had a real comfort zone with him, and then obviously I've got a comfort zone with Allison, and just creatively, she's sort of the first person that hears a lot of my stuff, and was a co-writer on a lot of these songs, and understood my vision for things, and was really valuable in helping me articulate that in the studio, and so I wanted to ask her to help work on the record as well, because she just had a wealth of ideas and was really involved from stem to stern on a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. You've always been one of my favorite songwriters because you're so clever, and the dry sense of humor really helps me a lot. I love that about you. But how do you write a song?
How do I write a song?
Yeah, where does it start? Does it start with lyrics and words, or with melodies, or how do you do it?
I've tried every approach I could come up with, and had varying degrees of success with all of them. When I first started, it was all lyrics, and it was a notepad, and I would write something down, and a lot of times it came from not setting out with an idea in mind, like I'm going to write a love song. Because I found I was horrible at that, particularly early on, because everything I was doing was derivative and generic and embarrassing to me. And so I was trying to channel my, the Towns and the Dylan and these brilliant lyricists. And so for me, I think early on I thought trying to open up my mind in whatever way I could. I just feel like there's this stuff out there in the ether, and lightning can strike and you can grab it, and so I would rely on that. I would just find this great, or I thought great line, or find something interesting to me and grab it, and then try and build a song around that. Say, okay, here's this line. What's the story? This is a description of a character. Where does it go from there? But I found that there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat, and that's a terrible saying, actually. Now that I just thought about it, I don't want to visualize that. Let's take that back. There's a lot of different ways to get something done, and so sometimes I'll write with a specific thing in mind. Like I've had parts of my life that have happened that I really want to get out there, and I said, okay, I know what I'm going for here, and it's not. That's just a different approach, and then finally I spend a lot of time just playing the guitar, finding a melody, and mumbling and making stuff up, and just kind of creating something on the spot, and then I'll I'll record that on my phone or whatever I can and say, all right, that's got something to it. There's an energy there that I like. I can visualize a story or something, a theme happening that I want to investigate further. And so sometimes it's just playing music, and that inspires all sorts of stuff. So I try not to get too locked into one thing, and I'm still trying to learn too about different ways to do it. But
yeah. Are you a country singer?
Yeah, well, that's a good question.
You know, because some people they're country singers, and they say I'm a country singer. Like Whitey Morgan, for example.
Right.
He's a country singer, and he does country. And then others like like Towns or Christopherson. I mean, they're country, but then they're really not.
Well, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't declare myself a country singer. No. I also wouldn't declare myself a folk singer, or I think I'm some sort of hybrid. My influences were Christopherson and Towns and a lot of Bob Dylan and John Prine, and I'm not sure any of those guys can be stuck in one category. I just liked great songwriters. I liked people that could articulate my emotions and help me better understand life, and could go on that journey and bring something back and put it out there in a way that helped me see things differently.
Yeah.
And ease my
You set up this site where you put out a song a month that helped you have discipline and deadline to write songs, and those songs became the album. And in reading about that, you mentioned how Dylan's bootleg series isn't often an inspiration for you because we get to hear the process of the early versions of all the great Dylan songs, and so you referenced that. And tell me more about that site, and if people can go there now and hear the early versions of this album, and also talk about Dylan.
Yeah, the site was called Patreon, and it was set up to sort of like for artists of any type. There's photographers and musicians and journalists and painters and video makers and all sorts of stuff. And it was a platform for them to get financial support from people who enjoyed and appreciated the work to support that. And I had a record. I hadn't had a record out it was 5 years in between my last two records, my previous two, and that was just too long for me. And I had song ideas and stuff that I would like to share, but it didn't all fit on one record necessarily, or have the same theme. And I still wanted to be able to get that out there. And so I signed up with Patreon and just in an effort to kind of spur my own creativity, give myself a bit of a deadline, and also have a home for some of these songs that maybe wouldn't be on a record, but I still had a fan base that I knew was interested and would want to hear that and not have to wait so long for some of those songs. So I did that, and it took the pressure off in a way, and allowed me to go in and sort of experiment creatively with stuff. So if I wanted to do a reggae version of something, I could do that, and maybe it wouldn't fit on a worldwide release, or I wouldn't really feel as comfortable with that. But it just gave me a chance to loosen up and have fun and not take it so seriously, while still learning and growing as an artist, and so that was really valuable for me.
And your favorite Dylan bootleg series?
Volume 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was the first one for me, and yeah, it was just getting to watch. I mean, that covers a pretty broad range of music, but the really early stuff, the performances, the Ode to Woody, the poem that he wrote, watching his process and his art evolve and constantly reshape itself. I mean, you pick any point in his career and you'll see that. But from beginning to end, bootleg series 1, volume 1 was my favorite. That just had some magical stuff on it.
It's amazing to me that tune, Blind Willie McTell, which I think Mark Knopfler made with him, never made it on a record.
Never made it on a record, and Mama, You've Been on My Mind.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite songs ever written, and
Yeah.
I don't think he ever put that on a record
Yeah.
either. So that to me is always amazing. Like, you know, I
Well,
work really hard just to finish a song, and he's got
He's got
these
extras.
masterpieces that
Yeah.
he's like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to worry about this one.
Well, you seem pretty happy. Griff attests to that. He says you're happy. And I'm wondering what's changed in your approach. Not that you were a bummer before, but how has your creative approach to life changed or improved?
Well, I'm trying to be present for it. And I think, like I said, that for a long time I wasn't. And that makes a big difference, because no matter how many good times you're having, if you're not fully there for them, there's not a whole lot of meaning in that. And there's a lot of good stuff deep in there. And whether that's being with my son, or being in love, or making music, or learning something every day, or just taking a breath. You know, there's no guarantee for how long we have on this earth, and there's no goal of there's no amount of money or acclaim or anything else that's going to make us happy. And I realized that it was time to sort of change my perspective there, and start trying to be present. And so right here, I'm here with you and my band, and getting to make music and do something I love. And so I'm trying to enjoy that, and that makes a lot of difference. And I'll quote one other of my heroes here, my friend Ray Wiley Hubbard. He always says, the days I can keep my gratitude higher than my expectations, those are good days. And I found that philosophy helps me a lot.
This is Hayes Carll. The new album's called What It Is. It's on Dual Tone. He's here in the Roadhouse. How about one more song, Hayes?
Sure. I'll do this one by myself. This is it's called I Will Stay. I've seen you at the window, I've heard you at the door. I felt the world convince you you could even up the score. Watched you carry on the memories from the life that came before, then went away. But I will stay. I remember how you told me you felt it all might fall apart. You barely made it into this world, and you've been fighting from the start. It's not easy to believe, but I will protect your heart in every way. I will stay. Warm rain on the wall, a lone star in the night, and brave dreams to hold on to. It will be alright. And it's hard to keep believing all the stories you've been told, and to watch the way you try, babe, is a sight to behold. And sometimes you will get angry, and sometimes you will get cold, but that's okay. I will stay. There's a ghost in every garden and a lock on every door, and all of them remind you of the ones who came before. There's a pain in every memory you don't have to hold no more. Now the summer sun is fading and the autumn's in the hall, and if time would just stop moving, it wouldn't bother you at all. But your story isn't finished. You got so much more to say, and I can't wait. So I will stay. I will stay.
Hayes Carll, the song I Will Stay from the brand new album called What It Is. Hayes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think we had an idea to do something kind of special right now. You want to do one more song?
I would love to.
Okay.
We'll bring the band around. I'll make them come to me. We'll bring them around here, and we'll do the title track.
Sounds good.
Music style.
Too empty, and the dam is done too deep to stay here for the breaking of the day. And my compass is in pieces, and I don't know what I see, but I'm not sure it matters anyway. 'Cause what it was is gone forever. What it could be, God only knows. And what it is right here in front of me, and I'm not letting go. Just across the border from what I used to be, I still hear the slamming of the door. And the future holds a promise that it doesn't have to keep, but it might not need keeping anymore. And what it was is gone forever. What it could be, God only knows. And what it is right here in front of me, and I'm not letting go. As I try to make my plans and then set out like a fool towards the sea. And every wave that crashes rearranges all the sand and puts another path in front of me. And what it was is gone forever. What it could be, God only knows. And what it is right here in front of me, and I'm not letting go. What it is right here in front of me, and I'm not letting go.
The title track from Hayes Carll's brand new record is called What It Is, and there it is. Hayes, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
This is Greg Vandy. This is KEXP. All right.
Thank you, Greg.
Discover new music at listener-powered KEXP.org.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?